Well, Merry Christmas, Vision. I'm so glad that you have chosen to spend some time with us today at our Christmas services. In our first hour, we have a camera running over here. We put it on Facebook Live, and I sent a little shout out to one of our preschoolers, a little guy named Yanni, who's in the hospital, and his mom and his grandmother is there with him. So hopefully he was up there watching. And we had people traveling this week in Florida and Georgia and around the country. We said hey to them. We've got one of our visionaries is in the service, and he's over in Kosovo. And he tells us every week, I'm watching, and thank you for letting Vision come worldwide to him. We've got people that take it and share it with friends in South America, in the Philippines. I mean, you guys are going worldwide. It's really exciting. And I encourage you, please do this. Later today or sometime this week, go on our Facebook page, find today's service, and share it. Put it on your timeline. You never know, particularly this time of the year, who needs a message of hope? Who needs to hear some of this music or see what we're going to see today? So I encourage you to use the tools we're giving you to spread the word about what God's doing here at Vision. Now, of course, next week, like John said, we won't be here. It's Christmas. Now, really, who's excited about getting some gifts next Sunday on Christmas? Yeah. No, that's not real excited. Come on. Who's excited about gifts next week? Okay, that's better. That's better. Now, would anybody like to get like either a puppy or a kitten? Who'd like one of those? I see a bunch of kids' hands. Some adults, yes. You want one of those? That's so fun. I mean, honestly, getting little animals on Christmas. Does anybody want to get a lion cub? Sure you want one of those? Honestly, that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Until you left it alone with the other animals and like devoured them all, or the kids or something. Okay, let's talk about lions for a minute though. Lions. Lions, sometimes you see them on TV. You like them on TV. Who Lion King fans? Any of those in here Lion King fans, okay? See them on TV. You go to the zoo and you're like, oh man, they're so cute. And then they like throw like food down there and you're like so glad there's bars between you and the lions. Or anybody ever gone on a safari? Like been overseas and seen them like up close on a safari? Thought that'd be cool. But, lions, they have different characteristics to them. They're powerful, they're strong, they're fast, they got loud roar to them. But also when you look at the pictures sometimes, don't you just think, man, could they be cuddly? I mean, like if they were just like in a good mood, you could come up and just like cuddle with them and in their mane, you're like, man, lions are just such amazing creatures. And of course, they're called the king of the jungle. Now, we are talking today about Jesus, the guy who is known as the Lion of Judah. Now, Jesus, when he was born, and that's, of course, what Christmas is about. I think if you've never been to church before or you don't believe the Bible, you say, okay, man, at least I understand this is something about a baby being born, and people believe he's like sent from heaven, he's God's son. Well, this guy, Jesus, and I wonder when his mom, Mary, gave birth to him, did she know what was riding on that? The angel had told her that, God's son is going to be a savior and come, but did she really know that this baby would also be known as a lion? He'd be known as a Lion of Judah from the lineage of the way he grew up, but the lion in terms of even his characteristics, that he would be powerful. And he would literally have a loud roar to him as he stood up for the defenseless, that he was nimble and quick and agile, and I think even to kids, he was cuddly. We see in the Bible that kids love being with him. So you see the characteristics of the Lion of Judah. And this guy, Jesus, is a king that we've been talking about. You see these big props up here for our Kingdom series. And as we've continued this Kingdom series, we've talked about how Jesus is a king of a kingdom, and he's in opposition to another kingdom. That here on this earth, there is an enemy, his name's Satan, and he opposes the king of the kingdom. We started the series talking about how God wants us to have the perspective of the king. It changes everything when we have his perspective. We talked about the power of prayer, how God wants to speak to us, and we would commune with him and talk through prayer. We talked about spiritual battle. And I think if you look back at your week and you try to analyze it, man, there were some things going on in me or in my head or in relationships or in situations where I felt the tension of spiritual battle. And God says, my son, the king, wants to help you with that. We talked for 2 weeks, 1 week to the women and 1 week to the men. Remember, ladies, we talked about being a kingdom woman. And I said there were two things. So repeat after me, ladies. I am loved. I am needed. That's what the king says to you, women. He wants you to be a kingdom woman that is indeed loved and is needed. And then men, we got out the tools. Remember, we had the broom, which that wasn't too exciting. We had the axe. Had an axe up here on stage and said, you guys, you're called as a kingdom man to be a tender warrior. So repeat after me. Tender? Warrior. And let's get the warrior again with a little bit of to it. Warrior! All right, I like that. There we go. So ladies, if you don't have an axe, get him an axe for Christmas, okay? But we said as a kingdom man, God has great plans for us. As a kingdom woman, he wants to work in us and through us. And today we're talking about the king of the kingdom. Well, the verse we've been focusing on throughout the series is Matthew 6:33. And it's really a simple concept. Jesus said, seek first my kingdom, seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and many things will be added to you. All these things will be added. And again, what he was talking about is saying, there is a kingdom that I'm the king of, and I want you to have my perspective. When you think about people, when you think about managing your time and your money and your energy, think with my kingdom in mind. And he said this righteousness piece is a right standing in relationship. He said, let's have a good relationship. And when we have a good relationship and we think with kingdom perspective, much will be added to us. Like the guy I was talking about, been here 7 weeks, he would say, yeah, man, there's been so much added to my life since I'm walking with God. I'm thinking about Jesus' kingdom. I have a relationship with him. Things will be added to us indeed. Well, Jesus is this balance of humility and power. Because with a baby, most people are not scared of a baby. Now, some first-time dads or some guys that walk back in the nursery and see all these babies might be scared. But truly, when you hold a baby to you, there's no fear there. There's a humility and a tenderness to them that says, man, that's so sweet. So Jesus said, okay, I'm coming as a baby, so you know that I'm not here to intimidate you, and I'm coming as a lion. So you would know that I'll be powerful, and I'll be a defender, and I'll protect you, and indeed, I'll be a king that is victorious. So this guy, Jesus, who comes to us as a king, he wants us to focus this time of the year about the birth of a king. And what I'm going to do today, I get kind of this opportunity to not just preach today, to really be more of a storyteller, is I get to tap into, I think, one of the classic stories. And a story, and if you've been here lately, you've been hearing me talk about the Chronicles of Narnia, and I asked you this week to try to watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Now, did anybody either watch it this week, or have you ever seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? If you have, show me. Okay, so you got pretty good population now. This series, The Chronicles of Narnia, is a 3-part movie, and there's more in books, but in the movies, you'll see a lot of symbolism. As we take some clips today out of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I want to help you understand the symbolism that when you see the lion, when you see Aslan, that he is symbolic of Jesus, God's son. When you see the white witch, and you just sense in her just an evil aura, she's symbolic of our enemy, of Satan. When you see the 4 kids, those are symbolic of us as people on a journey, as people that literally, when they go through this wardrobe, they go from reality into this Narnia land that is a picture that in our lives, there's a physical dimension and there also is a spiritual dimension. And last, out of those 4 kids, the one named Edmund, the younger boy, is symbolic of us, honestly, as sinful people. It's symbolic of me as a person who's been unfaithful to God, has had evil in my heart, who has been one who has wandered in my faith. And when we look at Edmund and see this guy, don't judge him because it's you. It's you. Now, in this story about the birth of a king, if you have ever even seen Charlie Brown Christmas, okay, is somebody going to watch that this week? I mean, I like Charlie Brown Christmas. I like the piano. I like Pigpen, that little cloud that's around him. And maybe you have a Pigpen in your house and you can really relate. So, man, Pigpen. But Charlie Brown Christmas, if you've even watched that once, you've probably heard this verse from Isaiah. And listen to this. It says, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. I mean, think of the immensity of thinking that the foundations of society will be on the shoulders of this baby who's coming. It says this baby, this child, will be called Wonderful Counselor. And if you're like me, in your week, you would like to have a wonderful counselor. Not an average one, not a misguided one. You'd like a wise, wonderful counselor who can counsel and help you. Mighty God, an everlasting Father, a Prince of Peace. Somebody that will lead you and defend you, will truly help you have peace. Now, let me tell you about 3 characteristics of Jesus, and we're going to unpack these through this movie. The first characteristic of Jesus is that he's worthy of respect. He's worthy of respect. This guy who came to earth and lived a perfect life, a powerful life, yet a humble life. And in his story, we'll see in his life that he was willing to die for us, even though he is the Son of God in great power and majesty. So worthy of respect. Now, in the movie, again, the lion Aslan is the symbol of Jesus. And when people come into his presence, I want you to sense what they sense of this animal, this lion deserves respect. So when we pick up this piece right here, you'll see the four kids as they're walking through Narnia, and then, well, actually, we'll see three of them because one's missing right now. They'll come up to Aslan, and I want you to sense how they feel that he indeed is worthy of respect. So you sense when they come into his presence that there is automatically respect. They would humble themselves, literally an army, a nation, all of creation that would bow before the king. And if you were here last week, and we had men up here during the last song taking a knee because they still believe that Jesus is worthy of respect, that the guy who came to earth not to take his power to oppress, but to take his power to serve and to help and to deliver. He came as a baby, but as a lion, he is worthy of our respect. Now, the second thing I see with Jesus is he is a giver of grace. He is one who gives grace freely, even to us who totally don't deserve it. To those of us who've been stained by sin, who've been unfaithful, who've made decisions that would embarrass us to talk about, who've lived lives that we would not want anybody to possibly ever discuss. And Jesus says, I will offer you grace. And in fact, when we pick up the next scene, Aslan, he realizes that grace needs to be given. That Edmund, the younger son, the younger brother, who truly was unfaithful, and said, I have a chance to choose between following Aslan and following the White Witch. And he chose with his heart, said, man, I'm going to trade in my friend for sweeties. Man, I'll take just a little bucket of sugar and food and turn you in. And we said, man, that's so silly. No, that's you. That's me that would choose sin instead of choosing God. And when this moment comes where he's in the camp and the White Witch is now coming to lay claim on him, saying, wait a second, what about sin? What about justice? How will this be dealt with? And Aslan, as Jesus does, shows grace, because Jesus is the giver of grace. So what good news? There's grace for Edmund. There's grace for you, but don't miss this. What you sense in Aslan in that moment is that he knows the story from Christmas to Easter. He knows that blood will still need to be shed for Edmund. And so if you don't get anything out of the day, I want you to make sure you understand, and I say this in love. Your sin makes you deserve the stone table. Your sin makes you deserve going to the cross to shed blood. And as Aslan chose to go to the stone table instead of Edmund, Jesus chooses to go and die for you if you accept that. That's the thing with the giver of grace. To accept grace, you have to be willing. He's not going to force it on you. So make sure you do not miss that today. No matter what age you are, young or old, that is truly the deeper meaning that ties Christmas to Easter is the gift of grace. Now, the third characteristic of Jesus, and I love this, is he's victorious in battle. He is a victor in battle. And in fact, in the movie with Aslan, it continues, and he goes to the stone table and he dies. And the two girls see it, and they are crushed. And I believe that word then gets throughout the camp that our leader is gone. Our king is gone. There's confusion. Just like in real life, the followers of Jesus were confused. They said, the cross, how could he die? This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be our conquering king. What is going on? And so in the movie, when they go into battle and they're fighting without their leader, honestly, it's a fight in vain. That this leader, who indeed is victorious in battle, there was something off. You think, what is missing in this? Well, as we pick up this last scene, and you see Peter fighting, Peter in his own strength trying to win the battle, and in fact going face to face with his archenemy. It's like us saying, then we can take on sin, then we can take on death. And you can to a degree, but you can't to victory without Jesus, because he is victorious in battle. 3 great words right there. It is finished ties the story in from Christmas to Easter. It is finished tells you that the lion is indeed victorious in battle. It is finished tells you that from that baby all the way to the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus, there was a plan. God had a plan in this. So, well, how does this affect me, Matt? What does this look like in my life? Well, honestly, it's as simple as ABC. That first is admitting that indeed Jesus is worthy of respect. You got to make that choice here. You got to make that choice here. Would you admit that he's worthy of respect? Would you admit that you're a sinner? That's what has to happen before you can move into accepting anything. Because in Romans 3:23, it says, all have sinned. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So admitting that we're a sinner, admitting that Jesus is worthy of respect is the first step. The second is believing truly in the gift of grace. Believing that grace is worth it, that grace matters. Believing, and this is the hard one, that Jesus is the only one who can give grace. Jesus, in John 14:6, said, I'm the way and the truth and the life. No one gets to the Father. No one can go to heaven except through me. And Jesus says, it's a narrow way. There's only one way. But if you would truly believe in the gift of grace, in the power of it, then you can also live with victory. So you would choose to live a life of victory. Choose to say, Jesus, I will live for you. And that's what you can do today. And every day you can wake up and say, Jesus, I'm living for you. You're the king of the kingdom. I'm going to live for you. And look what Jesus said to his disciples. In Matthew 16, he said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. He said, there is a cost to this. We talked about it the first week in the series. There's a cost, but there's great benefit. So when you say, yes, Jesus, indeed, I admit I'm a sinner. And Jesus, yes, I believe you're the only way to heaven. And yes, I will choose to walk with you and live for you. Then Jesus says, yes, I'll be the lion that fights for you. I'll be the one that defends you. I'll be the one that you're in that battle and you can't possibly win it. I will come out of nowhere and take out your enemy forever. And here at Vision, we're seeing it happen. We're seeing changed lives. We're seeing the 12 days of caring where people are posting videos saying, God's doing things in me. He's changing me. This isn't just about a fun church or good music or an interesting pastor. This is the power of God. Something is happening in me because I have chosen to live for the King. So to sum it up, that salvation truly is available to all of us. And this King who arrived as a humble baby, he wants to live in your life as a victorious King. That Mary, she didn't possibly know about the lion. She didn't possibly know that Jesus would be the giver of grace even for her. And as we look at the story of Christmas and carry it out all the way to the story of Easter, we say, God, how could we not celebrate? How could we not stop the world for a day and have a celebration? And it's so much more than giving a gift or a tree or lights or singing. It's about coming together to say, I cannot believe that the King of the kingdom wants to have a relationship with me. Say, Mary, there's no way you could have known.